If you're able to talk about it now, if you like feel prepared enough, then I don't think we need to meet tomorrow because we can just talk about what we still want to
Yeah,
research, and then we could just meet next week as we work on the PowerPoint.
yeah, sounds great.
So we could meet tomorrow if you're not comfortable. Um,
No, I'm comfortable talking about
oh,
it.
you're comfortable? Okay, well then we can just go ahead and talk about our crisis and then decide what we want to research, and then we can do part 4 and 5 next week if you two are okay with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, I was like, where's Luca? He's not saying anything.
I'm
Okay.
just waiting and being quiet.
Taylor, do you want to start your crisis?
Sure, I can start my crisis, and then I will pull up the requirements just so that each person can see it. I'll share my screen just in case any of you guys want to reference it.
yeah.
Can you disable it, Jessica?
Using my full name, golly.
Yeah, because you had me disabled.
That's like how it automatically is, so I just have to switch it.
Okay, can everybody see that there?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we all have like the nice little requirements. So my family crisis that I talked about was kind of a 2-in-1. Mine was a divorce and an affair. And so when I was 4 and my brother was 3, my parents got a divorce. They got married really young. My mom was 20 and my dad was about 24. And so they went and traveled a little bit, and then she decided that, she's ready to have a family. When she was born, her mom was only 15, and so they kind of grew up together. She didn't have a father figure or anything, and then her mom got married at 18 or 19 to a guy named Jim, and then they had 3 kids. Well, at that point, my mom kind of ended up raising her siblings because they were poor, and so both her mom and dad were working, and so her whole childhood was raising her siblings. And so she didn't necessarily like have a childhood, and then she just met my dad right away and settled down and had kids, and then they started having finance problems because my mom wasn't working and my dad was working all the time to provide for us. And then she thought that breastfeeding was birth control, so she ended up pregnant with me, had a hard pregnancy, had a hard birth, and then ended up pregnant with my brother right away. So we're only 13 months apart. So within 4 months of having me, she ended up pregnant again. So now my dad had 2 little kids to feed. She was not working, and he was working on a new cop salary, a police officer. And so he wasn't making a lot of money either. And he was new to the force. And so he had night shift. And so she felt like she was always taking care of kids and had no free time. And so then he's like, you need to work. But she didn't want to put us in daycare because she thought daycare was gross and germy and everything. And so eventually she ended up getting a job for daycare. She also felt like she never had a lot of control with the marriage because when they got married, my dad just went and bought a house and moved them from Lee Center to Nicollet, which is about a 40-minute drive. So my dad's like, yep, I got a job where I'm going to work at Nicollet County. I bought us a house. And she was like, I didn't know we were moving. I didn't know that you bought a house. Like, cool, you got a job. So my dad was always very dominant in the marriage. And then opportunity came up for him to run for sheriff. And so he would have gotten a pay raise. And so he ran for sheriff. I was like 2 or 3 and my brother is only a year younger. And so she's like, I have 2 little kids. My husband's never home. Now he's running for sheriff and he's not home even more. He had to go out and campaign and was out at community events to get his name out there. So she felt even more isolated. And then he lost the running. And so to a guy who was like well established in the community. And so then she ended up getting a job. Everyone at her job were young. It was an office job. And so they were all young, going out to the bars. A couple of the other ladies were divorced. So everybody was single and they're like, Amanda, why don't you come out? So my mom started going out to the bars with them. And then my grandparents, my grandpa owned his own business. So then he ended up starting picking us up from daycare because he's like, my dad was working night shift and then she was out at the bars. And so somebody had to pick us up. So my grandma started getting angry because her husband wasn't home because he was always with us grandkids. And so my grandma said some stuff to my mom, which aggravated her. And then my mom met some young guy at the bar and started having an affair. And then a couple months later, that all came out that she was having an affair. And my dad was like, wow, I've been a bad husband. Let's like go ahead and work on our marriage. And she's like, I don't want to work on our marriage. I don't want to be together anymore. Like, I want to go and be young and be with this new guy. And I want to party because she never like had that stage in life. And so then they ended up getting a divorce and my grandparents ended up raising us. We had got our own bedrooms in their house. We would stay there. My dad would stop on night shift during lunch break and tuck us in, come and visit us. My grandpa would always drive us to school. My mom had her party trip for like 10 years. They got officially divorced. I was 4, my brother was 3. So she would go downtown. She got DWIs. She got assault. She would leave her car down there and got all these parking violations. She was kind of living like the fun 20-year-old crisis who just went to college without the college part. So yeah, my grandparents ended up help raising us. And then when I was 12, my mom left state to go and live with her family because she was like, wow, I don't have anything going on for me. Like I've really kind of failed in life and as a parent, because all during this, we would only see her like once or twice a year, even though she lived right in Mankato where I am now. So she was really close, but like she would never come and visit us because she was unstable. To this day, she's still unstable. But I'm still really close to my grandparents and she's not with that guy, obviously, from the affair. They fizzled out after a couple of years. And yeah, so that is my family crisis. It affected my whole family. I kind of had like a rebellious phase during it all. My brother handled it pretty well. And yeah.
How has that changed your like relationship with marriage? Because you're engaged now, and my parents got divorced, and I'm really fearful of getting married because I'm like, I'm gonna f up just like my parents.
So my fiance and I are both Christians. We went to marriage counseling because he also comes from a divorce. And he also has step siblings and he has half siblings and he has addiction on his side of the family and an incest situation. His family's all messed up and my family's all messed up. And so we kind of decided that we want to like really have a strong family bond and we want to have like the mandatory, we're going to have dinner together on these days of the week. I'm going to work a day shift nursing job. I'm not going to do the whole night shift. Probably work at a clinic. I want some weekends off, holidays off. We really want a strong family bond. And I don't know, we really trust each other. And I feel like my parents, I don't know, I just feel I'm more dominant in a relationship. I couldn't have a man be telling me what to do and buying a house without my knowledge and moving me wherever, you know, if anything, I'll be the one buying the house and dragging him along. I just feel like they weren't necessarily a good match. They kind of got married right away because they started living together while they were dating. And my grandpa's like, you need to marry this woman. You can't be living together out of wedlock. My fiance and I haven't rushed into things. We've known each other for almost 5 years and been apart. And so I don't know. I'm not necessarily fearful just because I feel like we're on the same page and I'm not a raging alcoholic and we don't plan on having kids right away and we're going to talk about our problems instead of going ahead and doing things out of spite, like going downtown with single girlfriends. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah. Is that a common thing for people to marry really young? Where you guys from?
It necessarily like so back in the 50s and 50s and 60s and 40s, there was like this World War II situation. So everybody was getting married young. Like in America, a lot of people are getting married at 17 and having their parents sign off, 18, 19. There was a lot of young marriages. And then in the 80s and the 90s, I would say probably like mid 20s, you were getting married. Now America's had a big shift where people are not getting married or having kids until late 20s, early 30s. And we're kind of having a little area in America where people aren't having kids at all. Our population, you're supposed to have per married couple 2.1 children. So, like every 10th couple has to have 3 children instead of 2 to replace the population. And people are realizing that kids are really expensive and they're waiting until later in life to be more established in their careers. And so we're not necessarily like repopulating how we should to keep the same population. So our population will actually start declining. I don't find that a problem. I think we're a little like overpopulated and we have like homelessness and poverty and stuff in America. And so I'm like, we don't really need the same amount of people or more people. So I think it's more uncommon now to get married young. I'll be getting married at 21. My fiance will be 22. I would say that's kind of uncommon now. Jess, do you agree? Kind of uncommon?
I think it's funny because like with really religious people, they still get married pretty young. Like I am Catholic and I'm pretty like involved in my faith, and I have a lot of friends, probably like 10 friends who have recently gotten married and they're like 23 or under and they're already having babies. But when I tell people that aren't religious about that, they're like, wow, that's really crazy. So yeah.
Is it common or uncommon to get married young over in the Netherlands?
I don't know any people that really married really young. That's also something in the past. Also, religiously, people would marry young, I think. But we also have the same problem. Problem with people not really repopulating a lot, and yeah, it's pretty much the same thing here. Yeah, but not a lot of people marry young here, right, Luca?
Divorce rate low?
Right.
Uh,
Um,
mm,
I
I
think it's
would
pretty
say,
high or more high than low, I think.
yeah, I don't think it's a lot of people get divorced, I think, but
A lot do.
yeah, well, most don't, but there are a lot of people who get divorces. Yeah, yeah, I know quite a lot of people who've got divorced parents. Yeah,
Like
so
I
it's
think
not uncommon.
I think our rate's like 75% to 80% of people get divorces in America.
Really, that's
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
really
pretty
high.
high.
And then it's even higher to get divorced if you remarry.
Yeah.
Right, right. So how did the whole situation like impact you? Were you like any feelings towards your mom or
So my
your
feelings
brother?
kind of created another family crisis. Her and I still aren't on like great terms. She also struggles with mental health and was an alcoholic. And so she has said some mean things to me or to other people about me that I would not say about my children personally. She gets upset with me because I just feel like I've made it so far without her because I've never had that good relationship with her and that I don't necessarily owe her anything because she didn't raise me. Like she kind of just gave birth to me and skedaddled and did her own thing. And she never like helped financially or anything. My family didn't go after her for child support. My dad and my grandparents paid for everything. When they got a divorce, it was just take what you want. And so she packed up her brand new car that my dad bought her and left with whatever she wanted. And my brother and I were in the car. And so then he was like, okay, I get the kids. Um, but yeah, I would say I was about 13 or 14. I went through a phase where I would sneak out of the house. I got drunk at school. I would do drugs. I I had a very bad period in my life. for like 2 or 3 years at a young age. And then when I turned 16, I straightened out because I was going to be able to drive. And I was afraid that my behaviors would end up me like being drunk and driving and hitting and killing another family, or, I was getting to the age where I was like, I could be tried as an adult. And I don't want to be like a gang banger criminal. And so my grades never slipped. I was always a straight A student. But now I work a lot. I've straightened out a lot. Ryan's pretty a straight shooter. Neither of us really like go down to the bars or go to parties, or we're homebodies and go to work. So yeah, it definitely affected me. My brother never had a whole like rebellious phase. Um, yeah, but it really messed me up. But we're good now.
Well, yeah, I just looked up what the divorce rate in the Netherlands is, and every year, 10 out of 1,000 relationships get divorced. So that's 1% a year, right?
Yeah, Jonas, that seems really high.
Yeah, really high. No, that's
I
not
thought
high.
I read an article like it was pretty high in the Netherlands, but I think this was all fake.
Well, not high, apparently.
Yeah. Okay.
If I yeah, well, yeah, it's not high at all, apparently. But yeah,
Well, I can go next then if there are any other questions for Taylor. Okay.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
All
you
right.
can-
So my crisis also kind of deals with divorce, and Taylor and I have very like similar backgrounds, but at like different points of our lives. So growing up, my parents were together, and I didn't think anything was really like wrong. And my dad wasn't 100% in the picture. He would work a lot, and then he would come home and continue working from home. I don't know if it was that he enjoyed his job or that he didn't enjoy being a dad. Kind of a mix of both, I assume. But I felt like really neglected because of that. Even though my mom was like a really good mom, like I just didn't have like the father figure in my life that I needed. And so when I was about 12 or so, I wrote my first suicide note. And my teacher like caught wind of it, and then found it. She like asked me about it, and I gave it to her, and then she called up my mom. My mom was like all upset that like she had to come into school to like talk about this because she thought it was ridiculous. And then we went to the doctor, and they like assessed me or whatever, and I filled out one of those, I think it's called a PHQ-9. It's like a questionnaire of like how often do you like struggle to get out of bed in the morning, how often do you feel like hurting yourself, those kinds of things. And I scored really high on it, meaning like I was really depressed. But the doctor asked me like if I wanted to do anything about it, and I was like, no, I feel fine, even though I didn't. And so then we moved about like a half an hour away when I was 16, because one of my friends killed herself, and I wasn't really dealing with that very well. Partially because like I would see like, this hallway in school, and I'd be like, that's where we hugged that one day. And I just had all these memories, and I couldn't handle it. So we moved, partially because of me, but partially because my dad was always working there, and my mom wanted to get a job there. So it just made sense for us to all move. And so that was when I was entering high school. So that was like a really difficult time to move when I was like 14, 15, I think it was. And then my mom started showing signs that she wasn't happy with their relationship. and they began fighting. And I don't know if they were always fighting and I just didn't hear it because we had like a big house, and I would always be upstairs, and they would like hang out in the garage, or like we had a big yard. Maybe they were like yelling out in the yard. I don't know. Um, but we moved into a small like townhome or like a condo kind of looking thing. And so I like always would hear them yelling at each other. And so that caused a further increase in my depression. And then I started going to therapy after my parents got divorced. They got divorced when I was 16 or so. And I dealt with that fine. Like their divorce didn't really affect me. It was more so that um, both of my parents like weren't dealing with it well themselves. Like my mom was suicidal, and I was trying to like save her from killing herself. And my dad was just like not mentally there really. He just kind of like shut down, I think, when he like lost my mom, because he didn't want to get divorced, but my mom did. So where that brings me now, I am now medicated, and I have good days and bad days, but I do feel a lot better. I've been going to therapy for like 2 years or so. Um, it's not that like it's not an issue anymore, but like my mental health is much better. And I think it will make me like more capable to care for people, because I understand how hard things can be, and I have a lot of compassion. So yeah, that's my crisis.
Thanks for sharing. Really,
Yeah, really impressive story.
yeah,
Thanks.
impressive. Not really, yeah, yeah.
Did does it also that whole situation like affect your decision to being a nurse or not?
I think it did, because I wanted to be really different from my parents, because I didn't want to make their mistakes. And neither of them are in the healthcare field, and I have no other family in healthcare. And so I just wanted to do something completely different so that I couldn't make any of their mistakes. But you know, that can always happen. So yeah, it did definitely affect that. And I think through seeing my parents suffer so much, I wanted to do some kind of job that helps me to help others.
Are you close to your dad now or no?
No, we don't really have a good relationship. He lives in Florida now, so he lives maybe like a 14-hour drive or a 6-hour flight. Um, and he has been trying to have a relationship with me. Um, Definitely since the divorce, he like realized that he didn't have a relationship with me, and he wanted to, but I was like, you haven't been there all along. I don't really want you in my life. So that's kind of like a constant struggle, that like he really wants a relationship. I just don't sympathize with him, just because I still hold that grudge of like feeling abandoned. Um, but we're getting there.
Well, I'm here for you.
Thanks.
Kind of in the same boat. Now all of a sudden I'm married and my mom wants to be my best friend forever. So
Alrighty, who's next?
I think I'll go. Um, I didn't prepare anything at all, so I'm just gonna start from the beginning. So I got sick actually on my first trip to America. My aunt and uncle lived and worked in the United States in California for like 2 years, I think. And we went to visit them just, just for a vacation or something like that. And just try to live there because I didn't have had to go to school yet. So just for fun. And one night, I think we were like in a tent or something, just camping in in the woods in like a, how do you call it, a park, a nice park. And I had like this the worst pain in my hip, and I couldn't. It hurted so much. It was absolutely insane, and I couldn't walk for like, I think, 2 weeks, and just had to be carried everywhere. And I went to I think a doctor, or yeah, a doctor, and he said it was like grow pain, pain from growing too fast, and um, but it hurted like it was. I hadn't felt anything like that ever. So we just I think 2 days after we went back to the Netherlands, and the pain, when we got back, the pain stopped. So they thought it was just something in my head or something. But then it came back, and then we went to the hospital, and they said it was growing pain as well. I really don't know when they like diagnosed me, but it was after testing my blood, and I had leukemia. It was actually on my 5th birthday, so pretty weird, I guess. Um, um, I don't remember everything because I was obviously very young, but then we had to get that whole trial of like chemo for 2 years. And then I got better at my 7th. And then it was, like I said, I had a pretty nice experience in the hospital. Just was very organized, and they did all these different kind of things for kids, so it was pretty nice. And then when I was done, when I was better, I just how do you call it? They had to test me every month for, I think, 5 years, to check my blood and prevent from me getting sick again. And that was pretty difficult because I still was very young and had to go to school, so I missed a lot of school and had a lot of trouble learning. And in that period of time, so from my 7th to my 12th, I also had like a lot of issues, anger issues, and cried a lot, and actually had to go to therapy every week. Yeah, so I was very sad. But at my 12th, when I went to high school, it got better. Just and when I was 12, I had to get tested every, I think, half a year till my 18th, and now I'm better for always. So that was it.
How do you think your parents felt?
Yeah.
We have
Um,
this question.
Well, I just had my mom, so she took care of me, and like my whole other family, my uncle and my aunt and my grandparents, they did a lot. And yeah, my mother was very sad and angry in the beginning, but she always had hope. So yeah, and I didn't see much of how my mother dealt with it because I was very young. But yeah,
Did it affect you physically at all? Like, were you still able to walk and run, or no?
yeah, I don't know really what that pain was, I think, but yeah, I'm still able to walk. I'm totally fine, no residue or anything. So
You remember when you were little though? Like, if you had gym class when you were little and missing school, like, could you run, or was the pain too bad?
yeah, no, I think like for my 5th to my 6th, I had really had to go in a wheelchair, and because of that pain, and yeah, both my legs weren't okay, and because of the chemo, I was very tired all the time. So yeah, there wasn't very fun to just miss school and just not see my friends. And yeah, but after that, just they did. My friends organized all these parties for me, so it was very nice.
You're like, I got parties and I'm better, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
And I'm
Yeah,
just sitting there thinking, your poor mother seeing her little baby in a wheelchair and you not being able to run and stuff.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, she doesn't talk much about it, but when it comes up, she tells me all these different kinds of stories of how she just mad at the situation and like all that. But yeah,
So is your dad
luckily.
alone in Africa?
Yeah, he still lives in Africa. So they divorced before I got born, so I'm not used to anything else. So yeah.
So in the Netherlands, did you necessarily have like a cost with all the chemo? I know you're young, or like, is your healthcare there universal?
Yeah, I think it's universal. I don't know for sure, but it wasn't very much trouble with money or anything. It was pretty much covered, so it wasn't like a very um like a huge burden money wise. Yeah.
Like if you go to the doctors, do you still get a doctor bill or no?
Um, no, I don't think so. No.
Well,
Do you know, Jonas?
yeah. So we have a law that everyone is permitted to have an insurance. You can have you can't have no insurance. So yeah, it gets covered by the insurance. Yeah.
Yeah, but to my 18th, I'm still like included with my mother's
Yeah,
whole
healthcare for kids is
healthcare.
free.
Is your insurance really expensive though, or no?
I mean, I think it's get covered like till $100. That's the like the basis package of what you can choose. That doesn't include much, but you can choose like glasses or hearing aid or anything else, and that gets just more and more expensive. But you get like $100 a month.
Yeah. And but right now, yeah, I've got like a package that's 113 euros a month, but the government covers 95 euros of that, so I only have to pay like a few euros every month.
So is
Till
that a person per person?
yeah, I have to yeah. So until I get a better job and I get paid more, I'll get less money from the government. But yeah, they'll look at your salary and your parents' salary, and on the basis of that, they determine how much money you get for yeah, insurance. But I don't make that much money, so yeah, they give me a lot of money to pay insurance.
Because like when I was little, a family of three, so my dad, my brother, and I, a month was like 1,400. And that doesn't include much. Like I just went to the ER a couple weeks ago. I was having a chest pain and I ended up having an infection in the perineum heart part of my heart. It was pericarditis. And
Yeah.
my ER bill was a little over $1,000 and insurance covered $67. $67. And we're paying like, now there's four of us on it. So we're paying, I think my dad said around like 1,800 a month. I paid $67. But here it's also you have to have it. If you don't have insurance, it's illegal and you have to pay a fee. But they didn't cover anything.
Yeah, that's
And when you get like a job that they can provide healthcare, right? Or
Yes, but you still have to pay on it.
oh, so you still have to pay like something on it. Yeah.
Yeah, because my dad has insurance and we still have to pay on it.
Hmm.
wow. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, that's why I was like concerned that Luca's mom had to pay a lot for his chemo. Like people here, if you get cancer, you will most likely go bankrupt with all the hospital bills. that's why I was wondering if there was like a big financial strain on your mom.
Yeah, no, luckily not. No.
Okay, Janice, take her away.
Yeah.
Your turn, Jona. Your turn.
Yeah. I feel bad going. Oh, we also have less than a minute left. So should we re-enter the meeting? or-
Yeah, we'll re-enter the meeting. Do you want to end the recording, Jess? Okay,
Alright.
see y'all again.